Hello and welcome to State of the Economy. Today we thought of discussing something different from what we normally do on State of the Economy. We discuss policy, we discuss hardcore economy issues, industry. Today we thought we'll discuss branding, marketing, broadly speaking, consumption in the age of the internet and social media, how consumption cultures are changing, how branding as a notion is changing in this country as India globalizes rapidly and integrates with the rest of the world. To discuss this question, we have in our studios Santosh Desai, who's CEO and Managing Director of Future Brands. More than that, Santosh also writes a regular column in the Times of India called City City Bang Bang, where he's a keen social commentator, and he looks at the notion of consumption, the notion of branding and marketing at a larger level in society, and how cultures change and how cultures, new emerging cultures create new forms of consumption, products, etc. Welcome to our show, Santosh Desai. So happy to have you in our studios. Tell me, you have been sort of writing a lot in your columns, and you've been sort of advising a lot of organizations on the notion of branding, on the very fundamental notion of branding, consumption, and how it is changing. And you particularly believe in culture-based solutions that requires a deeper study of psyche. Now, doing all this, how do you see the new emerging culture of consumption?
Well, I think if you look at increasingly the role that consumption plays in our lives, I mean, from its very functional, basic kind of a role, which is where at a certain level consumption begins, its journey, as it is aligned increasingly to our quest for a certain kind of identity. And if you were to look at, increasingly the sense that in the modern age today, we imagine the self as an unfinished project. And it's something that we try and become, somebody or often ourselves, in some ways. And we increasingly are, this quest for earlier we were born somebody, in a sense. We were always born somebody. We were in a certain caste or in a family, and which family do you come from was the question that we were always asked.
Location,
where? And a social location, you're mapped in a social matrix. Today, that location we have to find. You have to, and that quest to become somebody increasingly is dotted with consumption. So I become somebody of a certain kind because I drive a certain car and I subscribe to a certain,
I do a certain kind of politics.
I do a certain kind of politics. I live in a certain kind of place. I like some kind of brands. So increasingly what happens is that what you are doing is A, creating a sense of identity, and B, consuming meaning. And then brands and marketing are nothing but devices to create new kinds of meaning.
So this ties into more choice, more democracy.
Yeah, it does. The fact that the idea of choice itself, and the idea that I think two things are happening in terms of identity. One is that our sources of identity are multiplying. Earlier, if I had to describe myself, I would describe myself as as a marketing person, or all of us are journalists, or what. Increasingly, if you were to look at, I love looking at these Twitter bios that people have nowadays. They don't describe themselves through their occupation. They are all deep sea divers in ideas, and they are kind of foodies. And you look at the number of descriptors that we have of our own self. So one is that identity is multiplying, and for each of those hats that we wear, for each of those persona that we kind of evolve, we are looking for, the consumption becomes a very important part of signifying those. And the other is that we have an acute sense of our own selves, and we want what we consume to align with who we are. So my kind of restaurant.
So are you saying that identity, in a sense, is also in flux all the time?
It is. In fact, increasingly, if you look at all the stable notions of identity, the markers of identity, gender, class. I mean, you look at the traditional markers and you find that they have all become kind of unstable.
And the internet kind of exacerbates this whole.
Yeah, the internet does that, because what the internet essentially is doing is that it kind of instead of the very classical power kind of a difference between people who made things and people who consumed them, people who spoke and people who listened. I mean, and this hierarchy that existed, and has got completely kind of, it has got disturbed and it has got dismantled. And therefore, the fact that everybody is a broadcaster today, everybody therefore has a quest for their own, I mean, everybody sees themselves in a heroic mold. The fact that any event in the world that happens today and everyone feels compelled to comment on it. What do I think of Muhammad Ali's passing? I mean, every individual feels compelled to for their opinion to have weight today. This sense of increased significance of the self, the idea that everyone has a voice, this democratization that we are seeing, also and very importantly, the beginning of a breakdown between the old notion of you are consumers and I am a producer. Increasingly, you find on the internet it's easy for anybody to be a manufacturer, to be a producer.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So everyone is a producer at a certain level. And therefore, I think it's a much more sophisticated relationship with consumption that we are seeing. What we are seeing is a great sense of therefore wanting an alignment with who you are and what you consume. A great sense of wanting many, many more facets to yourself, many more interests that you have. And therefore, from a vertical movement of consumption, that is that as you became more affluent, you bought a bigger car, you moved to a better house. It's that vertical axis of consumption. We are increasingly seeing a horizontal and in some ways a non-linear kind of a movement of consumption where you want to be several things at the same time.
Okay. Tell me if it's interesting you said that the notion of the evolving identities is always in a flux, and the medium of the internet or the electronic the environment of technology that surrounds you, as Marshall McLuhan used to say.
Yes.
It kind of makes it exacerbates this whole process. Now, how does it change the whole idea of branding? I remember once I had a discussion with you. You said branding is not the same as it used to be. A product or selling a product or creating a connect with the consumer, notion of trust, which is inherent in branding, not the same as it used to be, because emotion itself is fragmented, right? So what are we going through? Does this the reason why we read in newspapers these days that established multinationals who used to be very complacent about their products with history of branding and marketing suddenly feel shaky because one Baba Ramdev has come from somewhere and has produced some product which has more to do with faith than reason, So this is faith versus reason kind of clash also happening, is it?
I think a more fundamental divide is between the thing versus the idea. I mean, what has happened is that if you look at even technology and the way it has moved, I think the primacy of ideas and of the mind, we moved increasingly from an emphasis on the body, and technology, which was about overcoming the limitations of the body, is increasingly about multiplying what the mind can do. The internet is connecting minds and amplifying their abilities, and therefore increasingly from a constraint-based physical view of the world to a possibility-based, imagination-fueled view of the world is a kind of a shift that we are seeing. Increasingly, therefore, earlier the success of brands had to do with physical infrastructure, history, legacy. I have a better distribution. I have the money to afford better technology, and therefore today the combination of easy money through venture fund capital and funding that is available, combined with the fact that it is an idea-led. If you look at the source of wealth today, look at the corporations built in the last 20 years.
All ideas.
They're idea-based.
Ola,
Uber, from the Google, and they're essentially idea-based, enterprises.
And they're threatening traditional businesses.
Because traditional businesses do not understand that. They do not, and they've built themselves years and years and years repeating old rules of perpetuating strengths that they have, which are rooted in the physical, infrastructural advantages, etc.
Like recently, Anand Mahindra, for instance, he admitted that Ola and Uber could have a serious implication for those who are making passenger cars.
And I can tell you that 10 years ago, any scenario planning that would have been done by the likes of Bada would not have dreamt of this. Right? Would not have ever accounted for something of this kind happening. So I think what we are seeing is because ideas can come from anywhere, they have this quicksilver quality. They disrupt notions of age and youth.
Yeah.
Because the young, if anything, have a greater affinity for ideas. So I think you're seeing a fundamental reordering that is taking place, and therefore the notion of the brand, which had a certain stability. I mean, I always, the old mental model of a brand was of a lake that is guarded. There's a fortification around a fixed kind of an entity, and what was called brand management was the act of this guardianship.
Okay.
You were the brand custodian. That phrase is often used, which imagines this as some sort of a vault which you have to stand guard over. I think increasingly from this lake view of the brand, there is a river view of the brand, where the brand is flowing. It is passing through context. It is absorbing from context.
So many moving parts.
And it's in the comfort with the moving part. It's in the ability for the context to be factored in effortlessly and to draw from the context instead of fearing context.
Okay.
The old view of brands is to fear change. Right, and is to hang on. The new view of brand, you have to thrive on change, and you have to, and I think that's a completely different. The other thing about a brand is that, I mean, you always talked about building brands, and again, as an asset, as a building, Increasingly, I would argue that is in some ways you have to dissolve the brand.
Okay.
Every action that you take must speak for the brand.
Yeah.
It must be an effortless kind of where the brand reveals itself without trying too hard. And I think that's to let go and say that my brand is not what I control, but it is it's simply a way I have of interacting with the world. It's an ideology, it's a belief, I mean, to say these things are relatively easy but businesses, entrenched businesses.
So how do you, Santosh, when you deal with businesses in this new context that you just spoke about, how do you convey these ideas to promoters who may be looking to reorient their brand strategy or product strategy? Like one of your big success stories, which people talk about, is how you picked up an old, really an old economy product like Bullet. Bullet Meri Jaan. Bullet has a certain place in the Indian psyche, traditional. And how you sort of rebranded it, modernized it and located in a different context. The Enfield, which is now exported, and a lot of foreign buyers, they look at it as some kind of a Harley Davidson cousin or something. So you must be having these conversations with with corporate organizations and trying to sort of impress upon them the change context. How does it happen?
Sometimes it's easier than some other times, and sometimes, like in the case of Royal Enfield, it was actually not. I mean, the real change happened, thanks to the efforts of Siddharth Lal and the team at Enfield. That change was set in motion earlier. It's actually what our role at that time was in some ways to articulate and grasp the nature of the change, and to set it therefore in the new context. And I mean, the fact that if you were to look again at, if you say, just to dwell a little bit on that example, if you look at the motorcycle and the meaning of a motorcycle, what was seen earlier to be about ruggedness and about masculine force, in today's time could get reframed really as the fact that increasingly in a world where everything is digital and where the sense of, we've lost touch with any sense of a physical experience or a sensation, and everything can be, it's virtual, and so which has great advantages, but it also, and if you look at, say, the way Japanese bikes have gone internationally, they are like these robotic, futuristic machines where everything happens through the merest whisper of intention. It communicates and it kind of reacts dramatically. This, in a sense, is hanging on to and a renewed relevance that you find for the physical experience. And so, in a sense, the Enfield story comes from the fact that there is a relevance, a renewed meaning that physical experience has, and therefore the design, which has to do with a certain amount of, there is a nakedness to it and a certain, but it's something that when organizations, and in this case, understand it instinctively, it becomes much easier. There are times when this conversation it takes a longer period of time and it's not that easy.
Yeah. Tell me, now coming to larger social trends, you also write about, you're a social commentator also. You, in the age of the internet and social media, as you said, branding is taken on a different meaning. Now, you consume politics. Now, how has politics changed in the age of in the age of the internet? And how do politicians brand themselves? I mean, what are the new dynamics that you see when you study the social media and the impact of social media on politics, which I believe is growing. I don't know, there's no empirical study to suggest what is the real impact. How do you see that?
I think see, one is that the idea of the brand, becomes more valuable in a mediatized world. Where media becomes a way that becomes central, and our imagination of the world becomes more and more located and in media and representations of media. Then the idea of distilling anything complex into something that can get currency and recirculation. So if you look at media, and particularly social media, what can get recirculated becomes powerful.
Powerful, yeah.
And in order to recirculate something, the emotional essence of something needs to be distilled. And therefore, if you look at particularly the 2014 elections, I think you do find a great sense of the power of media. And in a way, it was historically always argued in politics that, at least in behavior, it came through the fact that what we talk about in studios, television studios, is fine. I mean, but eventually elections are not decided by what happens in television studios. It happens in a much larger space. And I think 2014 was the first time that we actually found a counterpoint to that belief, because here, by using the aggregating nature of media and by creating themes that were not based in local constituencies, but the idea of aspiration, themes that cut across a much larger section, and distilling them using a succession of advertising like sort of slices in terms of slogans and the way the messages were framed. They all had bite. They were sound bites. Right. So it's media meeting branding, meeting creating a new politics where things are increasingly collapsed. And there is an emotional sort of a resonance that I think politics is strives to create, where you're trying to get people out of their traditional kind of voting blocks, and to create a larger. I mean, that is part of it. That's certainly not Indian politics is too complex to be summed up like this. But at least one strand of movement is, I think, is very. It's about the world being seen through the lens of brands.
Actually, I found that 2014 elections, Santosh, I was in some villages in Allahabad, outside Allahabad, small hamlets.
Right.
And these villages had television channels. Some houses had television channels, and people would gather to watch TV there. And even if they got 4 hours, 5 hours power supply, they would actually pay for. They would use generators to get those extra 2-3 hours, pay for diesel and watch television. And they would. Many of them told me that they saw the Modi campaign beaming down. So I think it does impact. This is an old man, a school teacher, who told me that it does impact the younger lot. This whole aspirational politics, etc. But tell me, coming to again, coming back to what Marshall McLuhan said in the late 80s, very prophetic. At that time, social media, internet, or whatever, mobiles or not. He did say that in the context of television, if you remember, he said, it's not necessary what you say on TV. The way you come across is more important. And he described television as not a literate medium. And in that context, he says how Kennedy came across to the people as one of their own, whereas Nixon, who sounded more intelligent on radio, did not succeed on TV.
On TV, yeah.
So this media as a mediating platform, is it tricky? I mean, is it does it sort of sometimes hide reality, or how does it work?
I mean, I have actually a lot of time for the kind of McLuhan's view of the world, in a sense where the idea that media form rather than content is what
And it
is
has an
much
impact
more
on
powerful.
branding also in that sense.
Very powerfully, meaning I think, see, that if you, I mean, very simplistically, but if you were to look at the print age, the print is a hierarchical age, because there is an editor and there is a this is my word and you are the reader, and you have no way of, unless there are 3 letters to the editor every day, meaning essentially that's the only space that the reader gets, right? It's a didactic top-down kind of view of the world. Television is the world of desire. Everything is transient. Everything moves quickly. And so to succeed on television, you need to arrest. The biggest concern that brands and everybody on television has is arresting. Don't move. And you look for eyeballs. And I find that you reduce the whole human experience to a synaptic flicker of the eyeball. I mean, that's how television works. The internet changes the rules again. And there's and every time the dominant media of our time changes, I find it easy to believe that society changes. And so television in India, and today we are in the day, actually this is the age of television in India, and the age of internet is round the corner. It's just about... And
they're merging in some sense.
They're merging
multimedia.
in some sense, But you see the effect, the television effect, that where the popular is important, much more than the significant. The influence of the earlier time was people who had weighty voices. Today it is people who are popular. Right. On the internet, what you see is a greater democratization, and therefore this whole idea that everyone with an opinion, and therefore I think the whole discourse that we see around politically, culturally, changes the moment you have so many voices suddenly. And the other thing that happens on social media is that I always, for somebody who had an opinion which was not a mainstream opinion, was always a little diffident, because they didn't know how many other people had the same opinion. What happens on social media is that you put your opinion out there, and you see other, millions of people like you. And I think therefore the polarization that we've seen, has a lot to do with pure media effect. So I think there is content and context that changes, but media itself creates, very powerful changes.
Okay. Santosh, tell me, there's this concept of the long tail. There's a book titled The Long Tail, which essentially allows, because of technology, internet, allows fragmented consumers and fragmented producers to connect with each other. This was never the case 30 years ago. The big businesses had a clean advantage over people who didn't have the wherewithal, didn't have, money to market or to brand. Now, do you feel that the internet allows fragmented consumers and fragmented producers to connect? And in some ways, Ola, etc., is an example of that.
Exactly that.
So how do you see that evolving, and branding also evolving in that context?
Yeah, I think that's the whole thing. The fact that increasingly the idea of a center, a strong center, and therefore we imagine always structures like that, big, strong players.
That's going away.
That increasingly that is gone. It is. I mean, there is a consolidation of another kind, but that's a second order kind of change. At the first level, what is happening is that you are seeing this fragmentation.
Is it affecting corporate organizations?
I think everyone is facing the challenge. I mean, the reason why, in a sense, Patanjali, of course, which is a phenomenon by itself, but why it unsettles corporations is because you don't know what the new rules are.
New rules, okay.
Yeah, so it's actually, one is the fact that somebody else is doing well, which is one thing. But somebody else is doing well using methods and for reasons that you cannot fathom. That's way more unsettling than just the fact that you have a new competitor on the block. And I think what is happening, because the rules are changing, the idea, increasingly, the other thing again, as more and more people are going to, also be consumers and producers themselves. The idea that, and the fact that there are new forms of aggregation that are taking place on the internet. I think strong traditional corporations struggle
Okay.
They struggle firstly because of these new rules. Secondly, because in today's day and age, on social media in particular, if you have to be a brand that gets it, you need to respond in real time.
Real time, yeah.
The instinct of corporations is to go back, shrink, go into a huddle, to, look at possibilities and then come back with a rehearsed answer.
Okay.
That you don't have that time. Rehearsed answers don't work. And therefore, the modes and techniques used by corporations are they are running out of fuel.
So basically, we are living in an age of flux and we have to
Tremendous
constantly
flux.
respond. Thank you very much, Santosh Desai, for talking to us. That's all we have in this edition of State of the Economy. We'll be back with you next week. Thanks for watching.